Support for Ahead of the Curve is brought to you by Manscaped, the best men's body grooming champions of the world. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. The craftsmanship and details of the 4.0 are next level. Manscaped engineered the ultimate body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. This upgraded trimmer includes a multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock, and it also gives you the ability to turn on the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through the additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. Did I mention wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code CURVE20 at manscaped.com. Michael, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, John, for having me on.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to get to learn from you today. I know that I've gotten to follow you on Twitter over the last couple of years, and I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that you post when you get to, the opportunity to post it. And so I'm really excited to get to share the mic with you, and then get to share some of the different things that you're doing this off season to help hitters. And so I guess the first question, just to set a baseline on your philosophy, is let's say that you have a new player that's coming to you, and you don't necessarily know a ton about them. And so what are some of the first, questions that you ask or things that you look for? How do you evaluate them? And just kind of walk us through your process, if you don't mind.
Sure. First off, I want to say I'm a big fan of yours. I really enjoy your show and your guest.
Thank you for that.
I love it. I get on the elliptical. I go on the old man stuff, so elliptical and the treadmill, and I put it on and podcast. I learn a lot, and in this day and age, you can never stop learning. And it's pretty cool to learn from everyone. You're always going to learn something from every conversation you have and listen to. So I just want you to know that I'm a big fan. A lot of people I talk to are a big fan of yours. Now let's get back to that question.
Sure.
That is a great question to start with, because I think a lot of people miss this boat. This is a big one. When a guy comes, a lot of times people want to show how much they know. I know this, I can fix you, I can do this. Instead of saying, hey, let's have a conversation. I need to know about this individual who I'm talking to. That's extremely important. How does he think? What does he know about hitting? What does he know about his own swing? Maybe he thinks he knows, but he actually doesn't, or maybe he doesn't think he knows and actually knows a lot. Is he an introvert? Is he outgoing? Does he take, that's not it? Or does he take confidence? Yeah, you're on the right path. These are the things we start with. Once we get an idea of that, you can only get an idea because they're only going to give you so much. Not every kid's going to give you everything, so you start building that trust. Then you start looking at, does he have, athleticism? Where's it at? Where's it showing? Does he have deficiencies? Is he aptitude really just off the charts, or is he a little slower and it takes a little bit more time? So these are things you talk to and evaluating when you start, flipping them a couple of balls. You give a little test real quick. I love toe taps test. I love separation. Those are quick little tests we could do before we really just get going crazy into too much of the body. And because the kid right away, when you start evaluating him, he's like, hey, what's going on? They get a little defensive. So you have to remember that they're human. There's a human factor in it when you're working with that kid. So that's huge. And then again, we flip some balls. We see how he's going. Give a little bit of here, a little bit of there to him, and see how he responds to that. And that tells a lot. You got to have a lot of feel. There's no manual. We all have the same, very similar script There's no secret sauce, but there's a feel and there's a human factor. And that's extremely important for me.
Well, I just want to comment that I think the human element is the secret sauce. I mean, I think a lot of the information that goes through a lot of the different, airwaves and everything, once you get to a certain amount, it's like it starts to sound very similar. And then the difference is your people and your processes within that. You did mention that you did a separation test and a toe tap test. Can you tell us a little bit more about those? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll drop back a few years right here.
This is on base U?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
and
okay.
I will say I was at the very first on base U. And it was, I'm going to tell you, 28 years now in professional baseball, but I still get intimidated. There's a lot of new talking out there. There's a lot of new catchwords, a new just understanding. And I actually listened to Greg Rose here, and the first time I heard him, and it was one of my more embarrassing moments, but it really taught me a lot. And like I said, you have to be humble. You have to be willing to learn. They were screening a strength coach, I guess he was, and he had deficiencies in ankles, knees, shoulders, arms. I mean, everything. And they went on the KVS and they broke him down. They say, okay, pick a hitting coach. Well, I happen to be sitting right in front of him. So I picked me, and I went up there and said, I've never actually seen a hitter with this many deficiencies. And it was an embarrassing moment because up until that point, I really didn't understand the body as much as I should have. And that's when I really started understanding that there are certain things, just because we know what it's supposed to look like, there's ways to help that hitter get there. And he's not going to get there with the amount of time that it takes in those milliseconds to get there with the way he will get there with that body. So how we can move him and help him and get him in that room. So I need to know that when I'm evaluating a hitter also, because I can't force him into a position that his body cannot do.
No, I love it. So I guess the next logical question would be approaching player changes, because sometimes I think we forget we are the holder of the knowledge to a certain degree, and the players come to us for help. But it also is a process of getting them to buy into the different changes that we want to make. And a lot of times there are players who have been swinging or throwing or whatever the skill is for a long, long period of time. And so it's going to take quite a bit of time to be able to, fix the problem permanently. And so I'd love to hear how that conversation, you talked about having some feel, when is a good time to even start that conversation? Because I know you talked about being 20 plus years in pro ball. You see a guy first day and you see him swing 3 times and you're not going to go up to him and say, hey man, you need to fix X, Y, and Z and yada, yada, yada. So tell us a little bit about how we can develop that, and then how we can approach those conversations.
Once again, I believe that's a secret sauce again, because that is a conversation that hitter's got to trust you. I mean, without trust, man, you can be saying everything right, and it does not matter. You can say things wrong, but that hitter trusts you, and they're going to try it. We don't want to do things wrong, but that is it. And so it starts back with the relationship of the player. And then it gets to, we have to know why we're actually having him change. We have to show him reasons. So there's a what and a why, and then how. We have to sit down and explain that to him. And then we have to allow that player to make the decision. Am I going to buy in and I'm all in and I want to do this, or I'm not sure right now? So we can take different stages. In the professional world, especially when you're working at, whether you're in low A ball, rookie ball, double A or triple A, there's different stages. Players have had success in different ways. Say you're in low A ball and a player just came to you and he's dominating the lower levels. Well, now he's starting to get Friday night starters who were the top pitchers in college, and now they're in pro ball and they're getting even better, and all of a sudden that player who, may have gotten away with success at a lesser level is now those deficiencies in his swing or wherever, it's catching up. And we have to sit down. We have technology. We have all kind of reports that we can say, hey, you got holes here, and it's showing, and that other team knows that, and that's huge, and that conversation only works with trust. And then that player, and we go in the cage and we slow it down and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. And we don't look for perfection when we're doing that. We're like, hey, you kind of get it. You understand it. All right, it's going to take some time. It's much easier in the offseason. It's harder when we got a game that night. So those are those levels, if that makes any sense. Then you can get to the higher levels, where that player has had success and he's a couple of weeks away from maybe getting to the next level or getting to the big leagues, or a couple of weeks away from getting released. It's that challenging. You go 3-4 weeks in a slump. Oh man, you might not have a job. You got to pay for you got a family, you got wives, you got kids, you got to pay, you got to put food on the table. You have all those worries to worry about. It's hard. Then you go to the next level. You have amateur kids where, they actually can get away with a lot of flaws if they have some talent. So we have to be so careful to try to make them perfect and say, oh, this is what it looks like on TV. Well, you're doing pretty good. At the end of the day, are you hitting the barrel of baseball?
Sure. No, I'm trying to do more self-reflection. And the other day, I just had a thought of, are we trying to make them more efficient or more effective? And so it was just one of those things of like, data may say one thing, or our eyes may say one thing, but at the end of the day, at the moment that they're in, the test is the game, like the pitcher you're going against. And if this player is having a ton of success versus really good pitching, then it's, it may be us that's the problem, and we just may or may not catch up to them at some point in time as well.
Without a doubt. I think a lot of times we can see things on slow motion, and sometimes slow motion is an absolute amazing thing because it really helps us. And sometimes it's the worst thing we have, because we can we can crush every hitter. We can go around and destroy every swing if we really want to. But at the end of the day, or you just said it, are they figuring out how to hit? Maybe, their A swing is just an A swing, but man, their B and C, there's very few D's and there's very few Z's in their swing. They're able to have adjustability. They're able to recognize that and still put really decent swings on balls consistently and barrel up balls all over the ballpark versus that perfect swing that we're always searching for.
No doubt. So the next thing that I wanted to really hit on with you, we're currently recording in the fall. And I'd love to hear, because, you just got done with 6 months of a grind of, 156 game season. And so now we're transitioning to that off-season period. And I think some of the guys, I'm assuming, or they'll be coming to you soon. I've had a little bit of a break. Now what? So where do you start at this time in the fall? And then just kind of lead us through your progression to really, when guys start to report January, December, and which is really the start of the season for amateurs as well. So we could go amateur or pro here, whichever one that you want to talk about. But just kind of talk to us about your progression through early in the fall, which is right now, through the rest of the fall until January or so.
Definitely. I will tell you what, it is so much easier being a hitting coach in the fall than it is during the season. There's no game that night. There is no game that night. So players are willing to, we can talk more. We slow down a lot more. We have more conversations, more cognitive work. Let's get the body going. We're in the cage. We're not really worried about that ball flight going. We're more or less of how are we moving? How was the season before? What difficulties came in? Okay, and that's where we can start really focusing on. It's a progression, and we really refine stuff. I like to start off with always our body work, and then move on to different drills depending on what that hitter needs. But if we focus too much on getting out an extension or whatever, and not enough force in the back, we got to do more drills that are focused on that. So it's a feel, it's a communication with the hitter. It's a lot of video watching into that. And I love, at the end of the days, we test it, and it doesn't start right at the beginning of the off season. We gradually get into that, but we never finished our days without really testing it. We get going, I get back and I let it go. Sliders, curves, changes, and go after it with them and challenge them on see how they do when they have very little reaction time. Can they bring those moves in? And if not, okay, we know what we need to go and clean up a little bit, because when we're working, especially, flips and other things, our moves may be a little too big, and all of a sudden we don't have that reaction time. We need to clean it up and be a little bit more efficient. How do they feel? So our progression throughout the fall leads into spring training, where they're ready. When they go to spring training, it's like they've already had game at bats. And it's pretty cool to see how that works. We use different machines and all kind of, sliders, the curves, the 3 plates, the 2 plates, any kind of drill you can think of, we do. And it's a lot of fun in the off season. Like I said, we can stop, we can slow it down, we can go all the way back. We can be at an autonomous stage. I mean, just letting it fly. Then all of a sudden, no thinking, just do it. And then, hey, let's stop. Let's go back. Let's track back. Let's do some flips again. I'm seeing something. So we have, time is on our side. There's no game that night. It's a huge difference between the season and the fall leading up to the season.
Oh, for sure. So I do want to know, so what do you guys do you mentioned body work, like prep work, hitting prep work, movement prep work. I'm assuming like that was my interpretation of that. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing with that before they step in a cage.
Well, here. Before they step in the cage, they have a whole routine that they actually go to. They go to, most of the guys I have actually go to guys that specialize. So they have strength conditioning guys, but then they go in and we work certain drills, whether we have a board in between the legs, certain movements, body movements as of their hitting. So it's not so much as, when I call it really, really cognitive hitting drills. And to me, we're in the cage and we're not, whether it's split grips or one-handed, or we're moving slow, we're stopping, we're decelling, we're really focusing on our moves, let alone just, grabbing a med ball and turning. And we have all those in the cage, whether we're hitting a basketball and doing some drills like that. So we have all of that. And these guys have, they have guys all over the place. They have, anything they need. A lot of the guys, I'm fortunate to work with some of these guys who, when they go in, their bodies are ready. It's pretty cool. So now we can just focus on the hitting part of that same movement they just did in the strength room. It's perfect. Right here we have Cole Tucker doing some drills. This is for him to be extremely get athletic in the box. With Cole, he has some issues. Sometimes it's a forward move. A lot of hitters, especially in pro ball, it's forward move. And, we're talking about it's a millisecond game. These are elite hitters in the professional level. And, sometimes it's just, we have to find that movement, that athleticism in the box still, and not be so mechanical. And we have to be careful when we're trying to get that perfect swing. This is a drill. He's already done some other drills in the day leading up to this, where he did some one-handed, he did split grips, he did decel, abbreviated. And this is a drill for him to continue to be through the middle of the field, get extension. And as you can see, he's going right through the middle, extension, controlling his body while he's doing it. He had one right there. You can see as he laughed off, he spun off. So he felt it right away, but got right back into it and drilled the next swing. And that's extremely important. Hitting, it's hard to hit. It's really hard to hit. And we have to be patient. We have to see, hey, can they self-organize? Can they figure out? They know the why, they know the what they're trying to do. And you know what? We're not always going to do it perfect. And see if they can figure out what they did wrong before we're sitting there telling them what they did wrong so quickly. Because when they're in the box by themselves, we can't hit with them. We can't hit the ball with them. They got to hit the ball by themselves. So they have to figure out in between pitches how to get back in there and get back on track. That's important.
So two things that stood out to me, obviously very intentful with what he's doing here, but he is keeping everything low to the left side as a left-handed hitter. So back of the screen really low. For the audio listeners, this is a walk-in drill where there's 1, 2, 3 hit as they're walking through it. And then he is like taking his top hand, and you said he's a shortstop, so this is his non-dominant hand, and you can see that he is like trying to, like, I don't want to say force it, but trying to work it towards the middle of the field. Like that looked like he was pointing to you and saying, like, pointing his top hand towards center field. Is that a feel that he really likes? Because I see that a lot. Like I see that a ton, and I'm curious with that as well.
Without a doubt, especially switch hitters. You got to remember he's switch hitter too. So the thing switch hitters like to do, a lot of hitters like to do, we like to roll that wrist a little early. When we roll that wrist early, we're really rolling the shoulder. It's a lead up. The body works up, and it works its way down. So we need to palm up right through the middle of the field. And when we do that, we give ourselves a greater chance to be successful. You can roll over, you can swing wrong, you can disassociate way early, sweep around. If your timing's perfect, you're going to hit the ball great, But at the end of the day, we have to give ourselves the ability to have the best chance to hit the ball. So as our bat's in the zone longer, as we're going through a better plane, better path through the ball, better timing, better recognition, we have a better chance to hit. And that's exactly what he's working on.
I love it. So you mentioned that even pro guys, big league guys, have trouble with their forward move. I've noticed a lot of guys aren't able to have, maybe they don't have the awareness or they don't have the strength to be able to, like when their front leg comes up, to hold the ground while they're moving forward. And so a lot of the guys will get stuck back with like their spine angled back and then spin, and that they work off of baseballs like that and super pull heavy, or they'll hop out of it and their back leg will come completely straight. And it's like, we don't want that either. So trying to get them to like balance it. And I do some different things. I mean, I really like walk through, feet together as another one, but really getting them to understand, hey, this is what my hips feel like underneath. And then I need to make sure my glutes engaged, my back glute, my back butt cheek is engaged, and, keeping my head over my cup, just all minor things. But I feel like that's like one of the main pillars that I'm looking at. But it seems like there's so many people, even into the big leagues, that don't do that. Or maybe it's just I need to focus on that a little bit more. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I think it's just hard. I think it's so hard. And I think especially when we're talking about elite levels, man, that pitcher who has that ball on the mound is really good, really good. And when those hitters are going good and they're rolling and their timing's good, they're feeling good, that human factor, that life's good for them right now, at home life is good, on the field life is good, they're rolling, they're in their glutes, they're in that ground, they got ground force, their forward move's good, their timing's good. And boy, oh boy, when they're not, whew, we see them uphill, they're back, they're spinning, they're forward, they're off, they're searching, because it's really, really hard. But I do agree with you. I think the more we work on this, the more the hitters can engage into that glute and have that force and really, really feel that ground, the better success they're going to have. And that's why I always think when you look at that forward move, it's usually they're a hair late, they're a hair early. When you say they're stuck on their backside and they're uphill, they were a little late getting there to that balanced position too, and it's no question, it's a tough thing to do. I think if every hitter could just stand there and not have to have a forward move and just hit and can hit the ball just as hard, every hitter would do it, Man. But that pitcher, we got to always give that pitcher credit because they're really good.
I'll tell you, before getting us too off topic, we do the heels down where it's just like we're working our hands towards center field or feet in concrete. You hear it where they're they're in a balanced position. They've got both heels anchored, both of their feet anchored, and then they're just working their hands. Some guys hit, I would say majority of guys hit better like that than they do regularly. And I'm like, so what's the limiting factor here? And they're like, movement and timing. I was like, well, yeah, like that's that's obviously big deals. But anyways, I love this next drill that you did. So it's overspeed training with tennis balls. So I'll play it and tell us about it.
I found I really found this drill by luck. We needed to get a timing. This Christian Robinson, he was struggling with timing. At the time, he just got moved up to us in A ball, and he went from short season where they weren't landing as many off speed as they were at our level. And that really messes with players' timings. When sometimes the off speed can land and they got to hit a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball, they get stuck sometimes on the pitch behind, and they're not starting enough on time enough with you got to get that gathered load and get it ready on the fastest pitch. And a lot of guys, it hurts their hands and it hurts their body, but when you're doing a tennis ball, it doesn't hurt. So they enjoy doing it. They like tennis balls, and when you don't hit it right, it spins funny. And when you hit it right, when it's good and it takes off, but at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt their hands, it doesn't hurt their body, and they don't mind doing it, which is the key.
Love it. So this next one, let's see here. So you're in a cage, pitching to a young righty. I'm gonna hit play. Tell us what this drill is called. Tell us what the process is behind it.
All right, so this is Carson Tucker, first round Cleveland. This is Cole's brother, actually. He is going through, this is our off-season work. So it starts out by the end of the day. So we showed what he did at the end of the day just to show the progression. So he starts off with a split grip. Then he goes into, as you were just saying, feet locked on the ground. He's got a short bat. He's doing D-cell swings. Now he goes into more D-cell, following, as you can notice. Where's he at? Through the middle of the field, creating space, force. Here, right here. Now, all of a sudden, we call this Cody drill, Bellinger drill, where he takes those, gets really into his glute, but drives it up the middle the other way, is focus, angle all the way up back to me, just letting it fly on him, giving him some tough. We're at 25, 27 feet. Then we got 2 plate drills. These are, once again, you got to be able to up closer. Then to go back, you're going to get, whether we do it at fastballs to changeups, we can do cutters to sliders, we can do curveballs to curveballs. But we're changing what we're doing. We're not just sitting there giving them feel good BP. We're challenging. So we started off the day with, we call it the body movement, the cognitive. We refine that with different drills. And then we end up the day where, hey, let's go, man. We're going. I'm coming at you. I'm throwing cutters, sliders, curves, whatever it is. And we're getting ready. We're challenging ourselves to, our focus is, up the middle, if the ball, stay through the ball, and let's go. So it's a whole day of really understanding yourself. And again, we can always stop if we feel something off, and we can go back to our cognitive. We can go back to, hey, let's work that drill again. Let's focus on right here. You're not holding the ground. Let's get back to some of those drills, whether we're step back, one knee on the ground to get up. Any kind of those drills that we need to do to focus on that move that he's missing.
I really like it. A couple of things I've noticed. So it looks like this is, feeling the ground and path focus. A lot of staying through the middle of the field. And for me, I don't know if the focus is like not rolling over, but finishing high. Sorry, my hand's like right by the camera. Finishing high and out towards center field. And then for you being so close from a timing aspect, he's starting super early just to get on time, which I think, timing is, if like you mentioned, if you're off time, everything's going to look bad. But I just wanted to point that out for, the people and the players that are listening, of just before you even, like right when you broke your hands because you're so close, he was already having to get his foot in the air and controlling his forward move forward, which again, it's that adjustability and timing piece. But I think that leads into he's having a feel of how to get on time, no matter the implement here, and that's a big reason of why he's so good.
Without a doubt. I mean, we go and we actually mark off how far I'm back. So if I'm 25 feet, 30 feet, we divide 55 by 30, multiply by the number. We have a gun out there. So we know the number I'm throwing at. So he knows, hey, this is going to be reaction time at 92, 94, 97, 92, 88, so they have an idea of where they're at and what they're doing at that, so that's big. I wish I could go on the mound and actually throw at 95 miles an hour, but we could do a reaction time and it works.
Sure. No doubt. Well, I got one more and then we'll flip the script to the on-field work. So this bottom right one here, let me hit play and then I'll let you roll with it.
Awesome. This is AJ Vukovic, young 19-year-old, man, 6'5", athletic kid. But it's really interesting. He's very mechanical. He has really, really good. He came in with a decent idea of what he wants to do, and he's a big time basketball player in Wisconsin. He's all Wisconsin basketball player. So, we got to get him using his legs and doing a little bit more of that. So we have drills right here. We're talking about getting in glute, feeling that forward move. Here you are right here. This is it. He stands on one leg as he does it. We also walk through with him, get him using that athleticism, finding that that ground, using it. Again, he's focusing on, once again, not rolling over, big time on that. We go back to the last slide with Carson Tucker. I remember right before the draft, we were working out every day. We'd hit, and he came off the summer showcase and he would roll over. I saw his upper body sway. Most kids try to look for power by using their torso and swaying and not using the ground. Well, every time he hit a ground ball in poolside, we gave him 10 push-ups. All right, 10 push-ups before you get hit again. And you know what? He stopped rolling over, But once again, I mean, every young kid should really, to my opinion, to the older kids, and the older guys already do it. Ground balls, shortstops, if you're a right-handed hitter, or if you're a left-handed hitter, ground balls a second and fourth. There's no need to do that while we're practicing. We need to practice to hit them correctly, and you're going to do it once in a while, but you catch yourself and you correct it, and there's a focus when we practice.
No doubt. Well, one thing that that's evident with pro guys too, and just, elite guys in general, is just their intent on what they're doing. And I think with elite coaches too, it's what's the takeaway with this, like what are we trying to do? And then like you mentioned with the Carson Tucker video, the first part was from the day before, and then you're blending it in with what you're doing in the next day. And so they know it may have some variability within it, but there's still an intent and a focus behind what they're doing, so that they know what to try and feel, what to try and expect. And like you mentioned, you can't be in the box with them. And I think that's a huge part of self-discovery, is understanding, and using coaches on how to feel what the coach is seeing or what I'm trying to look for as well.
Without a doubt. We have to remember that the hitter needs to understand what he's trying to do, and we have to listen to him. And we have to believe in him as he believes in us, because I see it all the time, and I'm guilty. Everyone's guilty of this. We see it. So as soon as they come out with one swing, we're telling them how to fix it. So when they're in trouble in the box, they don't know how to fix it. So we have to allow them to fix it. Self-organizational skills, drills, they're the best. They're the best. But when we're sitting there and telling them all the time, we have to be careful, because there is a time for that. There's a time for that. But it's a good blend, and it's a feel to know when to allow them to fail a little bit. But eventually they will come out.